then it will no longer be bullying children. It will be absolutely murdering them. And you
Look
just
at
went
that
live,
sexy
and
bitch.
they heard everything. What a way to start your fucking stream!
Nah, this is on point for me. This is on brand. All right. I think I have to put me.
You.
So I have a real chair. Everybody, look it.
You got a chair. That's awesome.
A long time in the wait, but I am here. Maybe you can hear me.
Art,
Yep.
maybe.
Caption.
So why are we risking our friendship again?
We had fun.
We did have fun that time. Let's see how it goes this time.
All right.
Can you hear the game? There's not a lot to hear, actually. So
Can you hear the not a lot to hear?
I mean, if you can hear the flames a little bit, you know? Hey, Negatron, how are you? Anyway, welcome on in. I am King Nightmare for Real Limited Gaming. And we'll be playing Chain together for your entertainment. We'll see how
Definitely
it goes.
not ours.
I ain't gonna entertaining.
I do too. I think it's fun. Riley might kill me, but it's gonna be.
You know, what a way to go out, really.
Not any different day.
Yeah.
It's just
Continuously
like
on brand for us.
Shut up.
Sounds like a regular weekend to me.
No. Okay. Anyway, we are at 251 of our $500 goal. That's pretty good, everybody. Nice job.
Yay!
Most of my things are goal driven. We hit certain things, so that's pretty much it. I do have beans, depending on if someone donates enough. But other than that, I'm not doing anything to my stomach.
Your stomach's already doing stuff to itself.
Yes.
So.
Anyway, I took a shower for this, and I'm awake before noon. So y'all got that going for you.
I got out of bed for this.
Other than that, I believe it's exclamation BSSH to get to the Tiltify link to help us raise money for the dumpster fire that is the United States. You know? Oh.
We love a dumpster fire if it's
No
not,
H.
the whole country.
Just
No.
ESS.
Who was hosting the lobby?
That's a good question.
It was me.
Was it you? I don't think it
I have a save
was.
file for it.
It wasn't me.
Was it you?
I don't know. Let me look.
It was someone. Not moi.
I have a save file for it.
Let me look. Okay. I have a save file for it.
Just
I don't have a save file, so
10/31. $125. Hey, Jube. We are at 635 meters. What's yours?
I have 31st 634 meters.
Okay. So it's saved for everybody. But I'm pretty sure I was hosting.
Okay. That makes the most sense.
And we are just 3. And hold on. Do I have some sort of image? Oh, no, that's not good. Trying to
Ooh.
cover up the. This is not it. Don't look at that. It's old.
We're just trying to get rid of the password.
The only picture I have in there.
We're so profesh.
We're super professional.
Super profesh.
Let's see if that works. Oh. Hello, husband. What's up? Chained together, yes. It is. I should probably ask for food, I suppose. Well, he was pointing at my shoes. And I go tell Dad. Tell Dad. No. Yeshua. What's my character? I was a lady. Which lady? Weird black lady? Brown haired lady. I don't remember.
What's our password?
I put it in the voice chat.
In the voice chat.
Voice chat.
Chat.
Of course. That's the password.
No, that checks.
I shouldn't have even asked what the password was. I knew it. Nothing if not predictable. And then I didn't even need the password when I joined in as a friend.
Yeah, you really could have guessed it.
Right.
I
And then it didn't even want me to put a password in when I just joined through Steam Friends.
That too.
didn't join through
So,
Steam.
like, what's the point of a
What's the
password?
point of the password? Well, you technically would have to have me as a Steam friend to sneak in. And this isn't back in the day, so I don't add people willy-nilly anymore.
We found out that doesn't work very well. They'll just show up.
The stray collector cannot talk here.
As if not everybody has their own. Leave me be.
I'll be Genera White Lady number 3. And I hope everybody's having a good day. Feeling fairly successful. Successful on our fundraising so far, and we got so much more time left. So I guess we can start climbing.
I guess so.
Okie doke.
Okay, but like, what buttons do we still?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. We're gonna find out through vibes.
Joke's on you. I'm going
They
straight
will
to
not
key.
have the option to select their. Okay, go. Well, they care about that.
Oh god, I'm already triggered.
Oh,
Trying to take the subway to escape. Really?
Left shift sprint, nothing new. But how do I grab onto things?
oh, that's a good question.
E pull.
And you're surprised
E to pull.
they've made significant progress. Make sure not a single subway is operational.
You stay the fuck here. You're not trusted.
Freedom on a silver platter.
At your command, Chief. I'll make sure all the subways remain out of service right away.
What did you say to pull?
E.
B?
Hey,
It's
Pepe.
literally above Crimson's head. You could see it.
E. Getcha. You mean mix it up like spaghetti? The fuck? And that's
That just looks like I'm trying to beat you with chains.
Oh my god, let's go, children.
It says a lot that we're the oldest, and you're calling us.
Just
I
get your ass
don't
over
ever
here.
get to be called a child. I'll take
No,
it.
you're usually the adult.
Yeah.
We
There's
came
that.
that way.
What's this? This doesn't feel like, yeah. That feels counterproductive. I don't know how we're clip-clopping with our bare feeties.
Their flippers out.
Oh god! Oh god! Oh god! Jump! 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 No!
We did find out that we can teleport.
Yeah, but I have to.
Where is
Hold on.
the teleport button? I am already. This is not the highest point.
This is not the highest one. I don't know. There we go. Taking care of my parents. Lots of work, but things are nice. That's
You're the
good.
middle. How about you just get back there? Middle chain does not go first. It's me or Kinky in charge. You're just following.
You meet in the sandwich. We still gotta go forward together, right? No! Stop!
You
No!
stay right there. I
Well,
did.
Cool.
I'm pulling! I'm pulling! Oh my god.
Turn
You
round
know what?
until me comes in.
I can't do much of anything.
Get over here! Okay, you know
You
what?
don't think I'm trying? I'm just too fat.
I'm gonna just walk us over here. No! No! Why? Son of a bitch.
Blame that shit on me. Don't you fucking dare.
I'm not gonna say anything.
Alright, let's just... Hold on. Hold on. Let's
What?
just look this over. So, we came from that way. This is supposedly the right way? Yes, maybe?
Maybe.
Oh, good. Okay.
Good.
So, we need to... From the looks of it... Wait.
3, 2, 1 jump
Hold
thing.
on. Is this the right one? Because I don't see another way up if we go up there. Do you see something?
I do.
Okay.
Up there. This is the
Parkour.
way.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I remember this.
Oh, for fuck's sake, I remember where we are.
There it is. Okay, yeah. Girl, that was not... Okay.
Hey, Solid, welcome back.
The lid.
You're telling me we could have went this way the whole time instead of fucking we all them jumpy shit like we did last time?
I don't know. But we're about to find out. What?
If we can.
Okay. Yep, nope. Sure. Sure. Let's not do countdowns. Let's just do surprises.
But you know, we can't blame her because it's never her fault.
Right.
I never said it was never my fault.
We're not even... Okay. Ah! No! No!
You just teleport us back.
Yeah. I can't teleport when we're falling. It won't let me. Alright.
I'm
Up
already
here.
done with this game.
Forward. To
Well,
the
we only have
right.
4 hours of it.
4.5. I have 5 hours slot now. Jump! Nope! Woo! 1, 2, 3! Ah! Okay. 1, 2, 3! Ah! Oh no, okay.
We aim for the corner
Yeah, that'll work.
and not jump onto
On
the
the don't jump
trampoline
and
right
then there
away.
we go. Okay. 1, 2, 3! Yay! Okay.
The trampoline is going up that way.
Okay. Bounce! Whee!
Well, that one is one. If one of us hits the trampoline, the other 2 don't have to do shit.
Okay.
Oh, well. I hate this.
Oh, okay. So if I remember right, we have to go. Oh, maybe not. I think maybe. I think this way. Oh, maybe not.
There's
Oh.
a platform here.
There's a platform there. I just. Okay, maybe we can get the back side of it. Oh, maybe we can just. You know what? I don't know where the ultimate goal is here. To be real honest.
Oh, the wings are over there.
What wings? What do you say? Where?
Right in front of me. Over there by
Oh,
the thing.
Oh, the
Dun-dun.
okay, I see.
Those are wings that we collect.
Right.
Maybe we don't fall as fast.
Oh boy.
One. How the fuck are we getting past that? One, two.
2, 3, go.
Ready, steady, set, go!
Go! I don't think this is the ultimate.
It's not the ultimate goal, but I like wings. I'm nothing if not a collectible whore.
Okay. No.
Can we? There's a platform over there. I'm assuming that is the end goal up there with the.
Up there, yeah. That looks like
on the
it's.
Oh, I'm just gonna. Whoop.
Ah!
You know?
No! Get up! Okay. Thank you for doing the exclamation point BSF. That will get you to the Tiltify. Yeah. 251?
51.
Ah!
Right. Okay. 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 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know when I'm gonna say go. 3, 2, 1, go.
Too close.
Boogie the boogie,
Too
boogie
close.
the boogie,
Ah!
boogie the bitch. If I remember right, I just dangle on that and y'all fall.
Yeah, no problem. Go get your food. I will be here. Oh god. Is it moving?
sorry,
It's
sorry,
moving!
Alright, just hold on.
Where are we going?
Keep holding!
Where are we going?
Especially when
Nobody knows.
hard to squash. That was just the appetizer. The main course is coming. I fear it might be too spicy for you.
Me and Riley are about to hit something.
Okay. I guess this is it.
I guess
I
so.
guess.
That felt anticlimactic. Oh no. If that's what it is, that's what it is, and that's a problem.
Now, if we wait till it gets on a flat side and then just kind of like hurry over to the platform, we'll be fine.
Hmm. Hmm.
Ready, set, go.
Go get run.
Run! See, simple.
Simple. So simple.
This one's
God.
gonna give me anxiety. Wee woo, wee woo.
All right, when it comes back, ready? Jump.
Ah! No!
Oh no!
Pull me up!
It won't even
No.
let me grab your chain. There we go. I don't like this.
Ah!
Oh my god. Where are we
This
going?
is a very big jump.
Oh,
Straight ahead.
Shit.
We're ready. Are we ready? We're ready.
As ready as we're gonna be, I think.
I think we gotta do a run back.
You think we gotta run? Okay.
Yeah. Ah! Oh my god!
That did not do it! That did not do it!
Aim for the building, aim for the building.
I'm trying! No.
So I think
Maybe
it's
if
like
we
a 3,
bounce
2, 1.
momentum on the trampoline.
Bounce a couple of times and then
That's a
see.
couple of times. You wish too far. There we go. There we go. No! Go forward!
We figured
Also,
out that's a good thing, but it throws
forward.
us in different spots.
We gotta focus on where we're going.
I'm focusing on staying alive.
Right, but we're not dying.
Let's just do this.
Everybody ready?
I guess.
Okay. What? Oh God!
What
Nope.
was that?
No! I don't know.
What was that?
I don't know how that.
It doesn't put us in the same space, so we're just kind of like flopping around like a bunch of.
Because we have to
Bunch
pay
of
attention.
Okay, there we go. There we go. Thanks.
Yep. Go forward. Go forward.
Go ahead.
Oh.
Forward.
Okay.
I only have to do that one more time.
Ah!
Okay.
I quit.
This will be fine.
Everybody ready?
Yep.
Yeah. Here we go.
Oh god. Yeah.
Jump in. Forward.
Go forward, 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 forward.
Pull it. Okay.
All right.
Oh. Fuck. I don't.
Just make a run for it and pray.
Game has jokes, is what I'm thinking.
When
All the
this
jokes.
goes level, like when this goes past again, we just make a run for it and pray.
All right, you say when.
No.
Nope.
Okay. Well, it was kind of a good theory. You good. Just let me do this. Okay, thank you. Okay.
No, I'm not picking up right now.
Go! No!
What the fuck was that? Well, not the worst. No.
No, yeah,
How
no,
is
it's
this
working.
working
It's
out?
working.
How
It's
is
working.
this working out?
Let me grab the. I don't know.
Don't question it. It worked.
It just
Hi,
worked.
Hi.
I don't know. I don't know, but it did. Now we can move forward. Everybody ready? 1, 2, 3, go! Oh god. Okay. 1, 2, 3, go! Ugh. One, two, three, go! Ah!
Oh shit! I'm pulling
Oh,
right.
fucking Christ, you pulled me off the fucking thing.
Okay.
It's hard being the middle.
1, 2, 3. Oh god. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Go. Okay. Alright. Making that noise. It's up the stairs, maybe?
Yep.
Oh, are these... yeah, okay. So then... Someone drops down and pushes the button.
Yeah. You
Okay.
guys stand next to each other, and I'll do it.
Did you get it? Did you get it?
Whoa.
This way?
Did you get it or not?
Yeah, I see it. I see
Yes,
it.
I got it. All right. Pull me back up.
Ah! The door
Oh,
opened!
you know what?
Oh no, the door. Okay.
Oh god. Got it.
I
Got it.
don't like that. I don't like that.
Good grief. Okay, I guess. Oh ho ho! Hold on. Hold on. I'm trying.
Pulled
I'm
the
pulling.
leg.
I'm pulling! Crimson, that's not... Okay.
What?
1, 2, 3, go! Ah. Oh boy. Okay.
Move up.
Alright. We just going.
job.
Cool.
No
That's
shit.
cool too.
Other way. Other way.
That's cool.
Other way.
Good job.
My little body! I can't... What the fuck? Oh my gosh.
The problem with being in the middle is that it doesn't differentiate between the chains.
Okay. Alright. What?
I guess it took pity on us.
I'm so confused now. They saying this is the highest.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
after
it
all
took
this
pity
bit.
on us.
Oh.
As it fucking did.
Okay, I guess.
Oh, I love that.
We go all the way up.
You're still gonna get smacked.
Yeah, you're gonna get your feeties. Ah! This is fine. We're fine. That's not fine. Yeah, hold on.
Go after this, yep.
Up.
Ooh, ooh.
Ah! Okay.
Oh, we're so fucked.
Okay.
I hate that.
Down, down. Okay. Oh, we gonna
Play
play Frogger? Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3.
Go! Not anymore! If we had God,
We would have got hit by a fucking train.
we wouldn't have. We gotta
I
go
don't
when
know
the
what you
last
expect people
train.
to do when you're
we-
just like, go.
Really, at least I vocalized some shit.
Wait.
I said go. Whereas we just blindly jumped the last few times.
I had
Because
a
someone
monster
else-
in my hand.
Someone else. Nah.
You want to fucking go, pal?
I do want to go. Let's do it.
Let's fucking go then.
See, when that last one.
So this one, or this one, or this one, or
The
this
furthest one away. That's the last one. My God. Okay. Get away.
one. Where are we
Edge.
going?
I need everybody to be on the same page. You agree?
Well,
The
put
last
me
one.
on the fucking page.
The last.
I
The
think we
furthest
should
one
start moving
away.
it. Okay, what about the furthest one away?
That's when we have a short amount of time between all of them.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, go.
Go. Jump. 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 Oh, stairs. Look at that. I never thought I'd be happy to see stairs.
Be happy about stairs.
It's an odd turn of events.
I don't know if I want to know how many meters it is to the top of this game. We're at 823.
Hopefully, very soon.
Yeah, that seems like the kind of game we're playing.
Absolutely. It can only get better.
Yes.
Really? That's what your takeaway from this? It's only gonna get better?
Ah!
I
No
don't want to go in this
warning.
stage.
None. Hey, girl.
That was my bad. I thought it was closer than it
Always your bad.
No, it's not. Some of those were your bad, not mine.
2,100 is the top.
Wait,
Oh,
we're
yeah,
almost
thousands
halfway
were down.
there.
So, do you truly
Wow.
think
do, do,
yourself
do.
We're
to
halfway
death?
there.
Don't be delusional. I'm here. Never
Go
watch
ahead, look at me like that. I will kiss
waiting
you as much
for
as I
your
want.
slightest misstep. My patience
Round the
is
world,
limited.
around the world.
The city.
I hate it already.
Sky.
Really?
Soon it will vanish
Really?
from your sight after
She can't even do a
Really?
basic step.
Oh, God.
What is this?
The thing you randomly jumped on without no warning?
Okay, jump again. Okay. And jump again.
Ah!
Wow.
I'm just gonna
Alright.
keep walking. See?
Alright.
See?
Wait.
What?
That's going down. This is going up. What's down here?
I don't know. I feel like
Down there goes over there.
around.
Is there wings?
I can't see beneath.
I don't see shit.
It feels like it would be a good place for them, but I don't.
You know what?
You're Googling the location of the wings, aren't you?
I did it last time, so I knew we wouldn't miss them.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any, but maybe they have to we have to be closer for them to show up. I don't know. Oh, that's gonna be fun.
Oh, we already missed one.
Yeah.
Of course.
Where the buttons were.
Yep.
Oh well, we already lost, so fuck the wings. We can just go up.
Okay.
Oh shit, I did it again, sorry. We're gonna jump when the street comes to us.
Huh?
Then we'll do the same here. And we just keep doing that and doing that. If I can reach that, yep.
Oh god, another one?
Oh. Why?
Oh.
We only mistakenly made it up the last one.
I see an opening.
Welcome back,
It's
you.
right there. Right there.
Okay.
It's a very short one.
Well, count it down.
1, 2, 3.
Son of a bitch.
And nope.
Aim for the railing at the side.
Okay.
Oh, did it show pity again, or am I? Nope.
Did
So
it
there's
what?
a jumpy thingy again.
Yeah, we have to jump at the.
When the flat edges show up, we jump.
Short edge?
The short edge.
Flat edge, short edge, same thing.
Sure.
All the edges are flat.
No.
No.
I just said same thing. That's all we needed to leave it at.
Oh no!
Shit. It's fine, it's just me.
Okay.
Now instead of running, why don't we try just like,
Dodging.
let me see, like if we just shimmy, like walk forward and shimmy every time we're,
Like in the...
and then walk forwards when there's a space.
Thank you.
Does that make
We
sense?
just have to make yes. Well, to me it does. We just have to make sure we're on top of each other.
Hold on.
I'm not going right now. I'm just practicing the shimmies.
The shimmies and the shakes. Okay. I got my food.
I think it makes sense.
Nope. There's really only so much I could do.
Do you want to practice on your own for a bit?
Nope.
Okay. Are we ready? Then we go forward, and then we shimmy, 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 forward.
Forward.
Shimmy, shimmy,
Go
shimmy, shimmy,
forward.
forward. Shimmy, shimmy, shimmy,
Forward.
shimmy, forward.
Forward.
We can just pull her up.
Pull
We
it,
can just
pull it,
her
pull
up.
it.
There we go.
See, I have brains. Oh, for fuck's sake! You end here. Okay. When this comes back, jump, run, jump. Oh god. Oh my god.
No!
It almost worked. It was failed, but it almost worked.
It
at the same
almost
time.
worked. What'd you get for food, you?
So, walk forward with it, then jump?
Yeah, we could. Yeah, it seems to.
Okay.
Nope.
After this one. Right, walk forward. Jump.
Ah! But we have a vision. Yeah. Jump scare.
I don't know how to do this.
I think
We
we're
just
on
fuck
the
around and
right.
find out like last time.
You're right. Idea. But if we follow it and meet in the middle, we have to jump over both of them because they hit twice in the middle. And then
I think you were
run.
right with the jump, run, jump when they're separated. But we need to start running before they get to us. So, like, we would start running
Bump now?
now.
Yeah. Bump. Ah! No.
You said no!
Oh, no, nope. I'm stuck underneath the thing. You guys can't go anywhere. Stuck underneath the
Was
thing.
it pretty? No. Did it work? Yes.
It was flawless.
No notes needed.
No notes accepted.
We're like Ellie Knight trying to do that top buckle move that he keeps slipping on. What in the fuck do you think I'm doing?
Jumping straight down.
Okay. Oh, no. I don't want that.
Oh, do you see that over there? I see that over
Yeah.
there. Give me a
That's why I don't
second. I'm
want it.
gonna take a bite of my sandwich.
Wonder if this is a jump or a run and jump.
I don't think we could make it in either. It's pretty close. Got my computer. Loaded rice balls? Nice. Oop, oh, maybe not. Man, it looks a little further than. Alright.
It's about 2 of us across.
Little sprint. Little bit one.
Alright, from here?
Yep.
We'll do 3, 2, 1, and then jump. Ready?
Sure.
3, 2, 1, go.
Jump!
Oh! Okay, like,
Oh.
how do I get on this?
You just gotta hold on.
I got it, I
Okay.
got it, I got it.
Well, look at it. Oh God.
1, 2, jump. 1, 2, jump. 1, 2, jump. 1, 2, jump. Okay, but how am I meant to time that while we're in the air?
We just land when we land and go
Yeah,
from
we
there.
then.
So maybe if we jump on the trampoline at 1.
3, 2, 1, and then jump.
1, 2. So like
1,
3, 2, 1, jump. Then
Run!
1, 2.
jump. Ooh,
Oh, that worked.
Well,
I just. 3, 2, 1, jump! Nope.
I'm sorry.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
so hold on. It looks like we can get on this building. Do you think there's anything
No.
for this? Oh, we can.
It's a wall.
Damn.
Invisible wall.
Wait, hold on. 2 seconds. 2 seconds.
1, 2. Pull you towards it.
Yeah, my husband's eaten the bowls. I haven't tried them yet.
Fuck.
What?
I hate the word necessary because it's C's and it sounds like it's S's.
Yeah.
Ooh. Ready?
3, 2,
2,
1.
go. 3, 2, 1, go. 3, 2, 1, go. 3, 2, 1, go.
3,
Oh, wait.
2.
I can get down there. I did that. I wanna look. I wanna look. It's a beautiful life, it's
guess
a
that's it.
beautiful life, it's beautiful. And we definitely can't make that jump.
No.
But can we fall down it?
Mm. Nope.
Worth a check.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, jump. What the fuck are you?
See, that's what I was saying was gonna be a problem.
Yeah. I saw this and knew this was going to be a problem.
So we just jump and then go round.
Yeah.
Left, right? We're all going to
Yes.
the left?
Yes.
Alright.
We're jumping in 3, 2, 1, jump.
I don't think that was
Oh,
right.
nope,
and
that's
then
not
no.
right.
And then no.
Oh, we're not that far down.
Okay.
Are we? How do we get back up?
We were further down than we needed to be. We wanted to be.
So jump after the wind gusts.
Okay. After this
After
one?
the next one. Yeah.
That was not communicated fast enough at all.
Oh god! Well, it's working. We almost got there. We almost got there.
With the power of 1, we almost got there.
Okay.
Hi.
I'm walking it.
Andy brought me dinner. Alright, so do like a 3, 2, 1 jump and then go.
Hmm. Yes.
If we just agree on a wind gust that we're going to do, I can jump.
Okay.
Next one.
Yep.
Okay.
Run. Jump.
Well what
done.
the fuck?
Oh god.
Y'all oversaw that tremendous.
You didn't say a word. So
It's literally a drop from the stair. You don't need a word.
I do need a
3,
word.
2, 1 jump. Too far.
No! Get back up. Pull. Pull. Why are you not pulling the chain? My god. Please stay up here. Pull him.
Wait, you can't.
You know what? Now you do it. Son of a bitch! No! No! Okay, wait. Mike, okay. Yeah, alright.
Alright, that's
This
just
was-
fucking rude.
It is the highest point, though. This ground is higher than them stairs.
Alright.
Alright, next one.
Run!
That's got.
Jump! Run!
And see, this is just a drop. There was no communication needed.
There was communication needed, because it
There
doesn't
was
look
not
like a
communication. It is a drop.
Alright. I need to be in the middle of you two, so... There we go. 3, 2, 1, jump.
Again!
I went right over.
Pull it. Pull it. Just you bitch. Pull the fucking... You know what?
What? Oh my god! No, that's not gonna work for the next one.
You know what?
It was a good idea, though.
Yeah, but it's not gonna work. Don't you dare try and swing me right that edge.
I will finagle it somehow!
Now I remember
Right
nearly
off
peeing
process,
myself
not
last
happening.
time- last time we played this. Nearly peed myself.
Okay.
All you see is me staring up at her their bare flippers, that's it.
Crimson and Riley's perspective of just hanging there. Oh, you get to see it from my perspective because I'm usually the one hanging.
Alright, after the next
one. Go! Run! Run! Jump! Run! Walk? You all... Okay. So.
So,
What if...
what if you jump, then Crimson jumps, then I jump?
Ooh. Okay.
I mean, the chain is long enough.
Ready? Here we
I
go.
mean- Not what I said at all. Crimson, pull her up. Okay.
Not what you
I mean, it
said,
worked.
but it worked.
Nope.
No!
Don't worry about it.
Shit.
Scroll down.
I was gonna jump. Try and take us over. You said I jumped first. I jumped first, but then I accidentally fell.
Yeah, but I meant like you jump to the second one, then Crimson, then me, because then we'll have a line to pull either way,
Right.
and then we'll do it again on the second one. I did not jump over yet.
Okay.
I was still in the first one.
And I didn't jump. I fell off the beam. I didn't jump.
I know.
Okay.
That second
After
beam
the
was
next
because
one.
I fell off, and then Crimson didn't pull quick enough, so then she fell off, and then you just came off too.
Okay.
I pulled as fast as I could.
It was all dominoes.
Alright, after the next one.
No. You fumble in this part. We already figured it out.
Okay.
After this one, jump.
Jump. Go. Run.
Run.
Jump.
Walk.
Hop. Nope.
Nope.
Pull the fucking string. My God, woman. You know what? Okay. You guys need to
know what?
land.
Jump
It will
up,
not let me pull you up.
No, it's very hard for me to pull anybody up there either as well.
Go.
Alright.
Run. No.
It's not even worth a little bit.
Oh. No.
Crimson!
I walked. My God.
Now you fucking me. And then Kinky does it again. God. Then you. Nope. Oh.
No.
God, oh God, no. Please no, 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 please no. Pull Kinky. No! 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 That's my chain!
I know!
Link up for fuck's sake!
I don't have a choice.
I know I've been
Okay.
in the middle before! I
Oh.
was in the middle last time!
Pull. No. Fuck.
Ah!
It's a very good strategy.
It's working.
As long as we don't pixel off.
Alright, 1, 2, go! Jump!
Funny hop.
Can you do me a favor, Crimson?
Yeah.
Just turn around so you can see it's actually my chain you're pulling when I fuck this up. Oh, that doesn't work. That just makes you fall, so never mind. Okay, I'm on the edge. I'm on the edge.
No!
Nope.
No!
Nope.
I hit space, but I didn't jump.
Okay, well.
We got this.
For sure. Okay. One, two,
Next one.
go! Run! Jump! Son of a bitch. Okay. Alright. Sure.
There we go.
No pool. Nope. Nope. And now I'm no. Okay. 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 Nope. Okay. I'm still pulling. I'm still pulling. It's just no. Oh my no.
Sure. Here we go. No! Son of a bitch. Okay, no, we're fine. Get ready.
No, we're not.
Oh my
You know what?
Ow!
Now pull her up! Fucking hell! One at a time!
I'm gonna try. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Swear to fuck God,
God.
don't you fall.
Okay. Here we go. Going real well. Going real well. Okay.
Yep.
Woo!
No, no, Kiki, just jump on the stairs. Fuck the big leg.
Aye, that's
Just
what
jump
I'm
on the
doing.
stairs. Good.
Get
good,
over
good,
here.
good. Oh, tell me what to do some more.
I would if I knew where I was going. Okay.
I would if I knew what to say.
Doesn't look like we can go any wrong way on this one. Everybody good?
Yeah.
Here? On here? I'm just gonna go up.
I'm so bad, not to know your son. Your son.
Okay. Hey. Looks like straight, so 2 bounces and then over, maybe? Or do you think we can do it in one?
Let's do 2 just.
Just about to go. Good talk, everybody.
One.
I think one will be
two,
enough.
Okay.
1 it is then. 1, 2, 3, jump.
Yep.
And then one up there.
I think that's gonna be 2.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, jump.
And then jump again.
And then forward, forward.
Oh god! Oh god!
Hey, friends.
How are we getting you out from there?
I'm just
Oh,
vibing.
no.
I'm just hanging. You know, just chilling. There we go.
There we go.
There's a time where I'm just weirdly floating next to the structure. Oh. Okay. Oh. Oh.
Oh no.
Yes.
might
Are you?
Take this time and eat my food.
Use elevator? What's this? Oh.
You have to carry that stuff that's on the bridge.
Why is the turning atrocious? Okay.
Yeah, just go straight. Okay, you can stop. We're good. Good job. Look at that. Ah!
Oh, I definitely.
Why?
Crimson to drive.
That was weird. One side. Thank you.
Oh, I hate those.
Oh, good. we could just get on it. We don't have to do much.
Jump on it and just wait.
Yeah. What I'm thinking.
Makes sense.
1, 2, 3, go. Nope. Nope. And I don't even know where I ended up. Be real honest. It like caught our chain and then took us for a little ride. Okay. It's so close though. Mm. It feels like we should just be able to. Nope. Oh god.
3, 2, 1, jump.
Why? Okay. Mm. Maybe jump at it from an angle? Question? You want to go? On
The fuck was that?
Almost.
Almost.
Got
Oh
it.
my god!
Almost.
Where do we go? 3, 2, 1, go in all breath.
Let's not move it slow.
Neither's your countdown, apparently.
At least there was one. You know what I'm saying?
Alright. Alright, the next one, it comes this one, and jump.
Ah. Oh god, I'm on it. Okay.
Stay on!
Shit!
Ah.
Why you mad? Why you sad?
This game made the lovelies and I cry. Yes. My my usual tactic of being successful in jumping is jumping and then just running, because that pulls you up.
This is just gonna be an educated wish, so...
My plan for this one
Okay.
is real simple. We start going when this bitch is semi-flat, and we just fuck around and find out.
How you doing, Cass?
Alright, you say when.
3, 2, 1, go.
Son of a
You
bitch.
should get the direction.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, not doing too bad. We are here to raise funds for the ACLU, help our fellow Americans. Because quite frankly, being in Canada and watching it all is very helpless. Otherwise. But, yeah. Exclamation point BSS will get you the Tiltify link. And, yeah. Welcome in anyone who is lurking or vibing. We are here for quite some time. Okay.
3, 2, 1, go. And we.
Why? Why will you not use your legs, woman?
So I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna try and shimmy my way along until this green one is flat again.
Okay.
Okay.
We just do the shimmy again.
Sure.
Maybe. So 3, 2, 1, jump. And shimmy along. Nope.
It didn't let me shimmy.
It wouldn't
where we,
let me
where we get
shimmy.
on, we try. What the fuck are you doing?
I didn't.
Shimmying! I'm trying to shimmy!
You can't shimmy when someone's chain is on the other side of the thingy, apparently.
My brain
Get it
didn't mean
together,
to.
woman!
My body just.
Get it together, woman!
I never had it to begin with. How can I
Well,
get it
fucking
together?
find it! Alright? Get in the middle to begin with. Ooh! Lord, give me strength!
No, he's not taking calls right now.
3, 2, 1, jump! Shimmy!
I'm just gonna stand here and vibe. You guys figure it out. Oh, here I come! Nope.
So done with the game.
Nope. It didn't want to wind me up like a piece of yarn.
Get up here.
I'm
Oh, goodness.
Do you need to take a little mental health break?
yes!
Screams across his room. Well, why don't we take a little breaky break?
Little siesta. Why does it look like you're eating garlic bread?
I am not. I'm not eating it. I'm eating a sausage and egg McMuffin, homemade,
Mm.
and some crinkle fries. But while we're vibing,
Mhm.
I know. I know it does feel it. Oh,
Just so we're clear, when I'm ready or not, you'll have my face there. Because, you know, if there's a monster or a vape in my mouth, you'll know not to jump.
we're not mind readers, right?
Well, that's why the camera's on.
You're beautiful.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, you are.
Truly are. I know you don't
We
like
need to
your
get
grown out
New
your grown out
prescription.
hair, but I like it.
Look at my roots.
I dig it.
No,
The roots look is in.
it's not.
I mean, it doesn't look bad though. I don't think
It's
it
not
looks
bad. Not right now. It is getting touched up next month.
I'm getting touched up next week.
Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit, next week is next month. Like,
Yep.
after next week.
Yep.
Well. So I'm getting touched up in 2 weeks. My hairdresser just doesn't know it yet because I've not messaged her.
Friday is Oren's birthday.
Are we ready for a jump and a shimmy?
Shimmy, 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 shimmy.
Sure.
That's not a yes, Crimson.
Sure.
Cool.
I really think even a yes would be fully confidence building.
2, 1, yes, jump. Shimmy, shimmy,
Shimmy.
nope.
Shimmy.
Nope, jump.
Shimmy. Ah!
Ah!
No!
All right, we got further.
We were we were closer.
We only have to do that for 3 more after that one.
Too bad we couldn't like stack each other and like be a human ladder. It's not that far up there.
Oh, for fuck's sake, look what's there.
Yeah, our favorite part.
And we gotta jump between 2?
2 of them.
Oh, hey, there's
I
two
just
more
plan
fair
on being
ones up
flung
there.
from one to the other by the arms of it, to be honest. But you know, I have hope.
At least we figured out the shimmy part. We
The
just didn't
shimmy
add
part.
in a jump.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, jump. Shimmy, jump. Shimmy. Are we all on? Okay.
Yes.
Oh,
No.
God.
We,
Oh, I
we
didn't
were.
know you were. I didn't know you were all on. No one was giving a it.
Because we were concentrating on the shimmy.
Shimmy.
Well, how am I meant to know you shimmy? Oh, I'm not going in the front anymore. Can't trust any of you.
You wanted us to
You started
shimmy.
at-
Well, you know what?
We started at 600 meters, and now we're at almost 12. That's great.
Right? We made progress.
A
It
lot
may
of
not feel like it, but we have. We're definitely in a different location. All right.
progress. Okay.
Oh.
3, 2, 1.
Shimmy.
Nope. I
No
have shimmy.
shimmies. No oh my god. Okay.
We do better when you count us.
Okay, because you decided to jump when it was not flat. 3, 2, 1, jump.
Well, I didn't know when we're supposed to be done shimmying and then jumping.
When the green one goes flat.
Okay. And I successfully shimmied that like 3 times.
You know what? We're just gonna jump and fuck around.
Okay.
3, 2, 1, jump and fucking pray.
Please! 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 No! I was right there! I was right.
I was a leaf in the wind for half of it.
As long as you're a leaf in the wind going the same direction.
No, I was just hanging there. Trying so desperately.
She fell off in the first one, and then you were just fucking dragging her off.
Bulldozing through. That's
I can't see.
oh.
Oh fuck! All right, we got this. This is it. We're gonna do it this time.
3. We're fucking around and finding out again. Because shimmying's clearly not doing as good. 3, 2, 1.
Hey, Merle.
Free. Jump and free. Nope. Oh my god.
Remember?
Ah!
No.
Ah, don't know.
No, we're so close.
No. How you doing, Merle? We're doing good. We're fine.
It's fine.
It's exciting times. Well, at least we don't have to do that thing again.
We do because it's right there.
Not the
We
pipe.
just never had. Oh no. 3, 2, 1.
It is hard.
I never said go.
You counted,
Someone,
I was confused.
someone,
Yeah, I counted 10 and then I started laughing.
and then the delay between the two.
You're the middle. Know your place.
She's like, not if I go
It's not
first.
in front. Tina's back here. 3, 2, 1, jump, go, tree.
Son of a. You know what?
Son of a biscuit.
These are
So
awesome.
good.
We started at 637 meters, and now we're at 1,192. So we've accomplished some things. Whether this is possible, hard to say. Ain't bad. Okay.
3, 2, 1. Go. Nope. I'm already fallen.
Well, I wasn't. Wind me back up like a little piece of yarn. There we go. Get up there. Climb! Woman, I swear to fucking use your arms!
I'm sorry, but as much climbing and stuff if we don't, our arms should look like Rhea Ripley at this point.
Truly.
Oh, 3, 2, 1. Oh, go.
If you
Oh, God, for fuck's
straddle...
sake.
Okay.
Straddle what?
the corner and then shimmy over, it's kind of easier.
Absolutely no idea what you mean.
Like the edges,
Uh-huh.
the things you can strap.
Uh-huh.
If you jump onto one of those and then shimmy it to the left, it'll put you on the flat. Yeah?
Sure.
Okay.
3, 2, 1, go.
Or I could not make it at all. Because what does her body even do anymore? Not
Alright, I
this,
gotta go
apparently. I don't think we can drag her on this one.
I don't think we can.
Anyway, welcome on in, everybody. We're raising funds for the ACLU, American Civil Liberties Union. If you don't know what's happening in America, you're lucky. It's looking pretty grim. But also, the ACLU has won many cases against this administration already. So, though you may not get to hear about them, realize work is being done. And they are one of the spearheads, fighting for everybody's rights. And that's all we can ask for, unfortunately. Like, other than like a French-style revolution of some sort. Lawyers that are on the right side are going to be very important. So, we're at 251 of our $500 goal. We have what are we doing this till 9 that time? One second, let me look. to share us in difference.
I'm back.
Come back. Ding, 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 ding. Oh, there it is. Whoop. So. Dang, time flies. We got an hour and 12 minutes left on my slot. Is that right? Doesn't feel right.
I thought you were till 8.
Am I 8?
I'm 8 to 12.
8. Okay, so 2 8. Okay. So 2 hours. 8. Yes. 5 o'clock. 2 hours, 12 minutes. There we go. And that's wild because it feels like we haven't been here very long.
It does not feel like we've been doing this for 2 hours. Though.
Right? Everybody's doing so good. So proud of you all. Don't forget to share us on your socials. And, you know, we appreciate anyone who's supporting. All right. Let us attempt.
3, 2, 1, jump. Jump.
Sorry.
Nope.
Sorry.
No. We're so close.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Are we all ready? 3, 2, 1, jump. Oh shit. Too far. Too far.
It won't even let me
hang.
grab a side.
Right?
Yeah,
So I'm
that
thinking
is
if I... Oh, this might... Nope. I
I
was thinking if I
No, but I
shimmy
think
while y'all are hanging, I could have...
right?
just do it without us.
No, I just thought if I shimmied while you were hanging, it would have eventually rotated you back to me.
See, that's what I would like to think, but it keeps on just flinging me so far apart.
3, 2, 1, jump. Shimmy, jump. Shimmy, jump. Shimmy, jump. Oh my god. I'm just gonna...
Grab!
No!
Grab
no,
it!
No!
Grab
no,
it!
Just
No,
jump!
just-
Just jump!
Oh my god. Just use any part of your appendage, woman. Like, it should let me grab. But it grabs
I
automatically.
wish when you
That's
were
the problem.
hanging... When you were hanging, I wish pull meant we would pull ourselves towards the fucker.
Yeah. That's what I was trying to do when we were on the 2x4s. And Kinky was up there. I was hoping I could pull myself up to Kinky.
That would have
But
been
that's
great.
not how this fucking works.
It doesn't. It's not.
3, 2, 1, and a jump.
Nope, that was my fault. And the fact that Kinky's character may not have arms.
Yeah.
They're just decoration.
3, 2, 1, jump.
Decorative sticks. You know what? You know what, girl?
I'm gonna throw you off myself. Okay, wait.
I don't even know what's happening anymore. It's just... Raleigh vibrating. You're spinning.
Spinning like a ballerina.
Well,
Oh, that's so cute.
It looks like I'm a ballerina in one of those jewelry boxes.
well, it is. It is.
Alrighty then.
Oh God. Okay.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I don't know what that was, but
You got up here, that's all I'm
right.
Oh, all the power is in her legs. That's what the problem
It
is.
is. It does seem to be what the problem is.
3, 2, 1, jump. Oh, for fuck!
No. Well, at least they'll let me down early this time.
Three, 2, 1, jump. And run.
Nope.
And no,
Nope.
Oh.
I don't know. Like, do you want us just to leave the lobby and you do this part by yourself?
I don't think
That's how this works.
2, 1, jump.
You see? You see?
I love y'all.
jump first.
I feel like a caveat is coming, however.
It's coming,
There's
alright.
always a caveat.
God love it.
Do you think that you can actually do something? Get it together!
You do
I
it.
will personally
can't do
kill
it.
you off this fucking
You
cliff.
see how my arms aren't moving? That's why. I'm just-
The next time you fuck this up, I am pulling all of us off the building!
Okay.
Guess it's time to fall.
Are you ready?
I was ready as I
Aye,
can be for
Captain.
someone who doesn't have arms. I don't.
God, are you also?
Yeah. 2, 1, and we jump.
We deserve this.
We earned this.
We earned this little break.
Little vacation.
little vacation. Little siesta.
Yeah, I'm taking you all the way down.
Nah, we're gonna land right now.
No! 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 I'll pull you with me! No!
Okay. About to go put my period underwear on just in case I pee myself just a little bit.
You can make the most aggressive eye contact you want.
No, it just looks like we're trying to kiss.
3, 2, 1, go!
Get.
I can only do so much!
Oh, I think I would have been able to pull you on. Not often that I'm the only one up there.
My eyes are so wet.
3, 2, 1, go!
Yeah.
Okay, wait. I have a thought.
Mm.
What?
What?
So the problem I'm seeing on my end is that I'm getting caught. So maybe if you two try and jump together, I don't know if that's.
And we just yank you through?
I'm just trying to like figure out a way to make this work.
You know what? I'm just gonna do Mal's thing.
Okay.
3, 2, 1, go. Warrior cry! Run!
Ah!
Jump! Jump!
Nope.
Yeah,
Jump! Jump up! Ah!
Yeah. The problem is we obviously can't pull ourselves up on
Yes.
the thing.
Okay.
Riley's having a little dance break.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
3, 2,
Mm-hmm.
1, go before I kill myself. Never mind, she didn't even bother to go!
I'm sorry. I thought you were still having a dance
I was gonna hang out between these
break.
a little bit.
I'm gonna go back to being a ballerina while you figure it out.
You ready, Kinky?
Oh. Yes.
3, 2, 1, jump. That's not jumping onto the green one at all.
I wasn't even supposed to jump. I don't. Okay. All I'm trying to do is shimmy. Are we missing the shimmy part? I feel like we're missing the shimmy.
I think we're getting rid
Okay.
of the shitty.
Oh, okay. If we're getting rid of the shimmy part, then
We're just fucking around and finding out.
okay. Get to the edge before you jump. Okay.
3, 2, 1, jump.
Oh. It's the green container. I feel betrayed.
I think we need to shimmy on the green one.
Okay.
What you been up to, Merle?
3, 2, 1, jump. Then get on the green one and we shimmy. Nope.
Nope.
Nope. It
I
would have
missed
been
the
much better if we
shimmy.
just jumped like you said. Like
Oh,
you.
okay.
It was a perfect spot to jump.
Oh.
You were right. I thought we were shimmying, so I put the shimmy on, but I should have just jumped.
So we're going with the just jump.
I think if we could hit it right on the green, we can just jump on to the next one. Now I don't know about
Yes.
the next one.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, jump. Jump. Oh, jump.
Nope.
Shit.
Red one definitely needs a shimmy.
Yeah.
Definitely needs.
Okay. We figured that out.
Jump, jump, shimmy.
And exciting. I see you've been streaming.
Wait, hold on. Husband message.
Unacceptable.
How dare he?
How dare.
All right. I'm ready.
3, 2, 1, jump. Then jump. Then. Oh god. Oh god. She's
Shimmy? Shimmy? Oh, no.
She was underneath.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I was trying to figure a way to get her back up, but it wasn't working.
The
I don't
lack of
think
being able to
anybody-
pull is really...
Yeah. I don't think we can get each other back up.
No. Yeah, streaming... Very bad Battlefield. I think you do pretty good. And Silent Hill 2. How you like Silent Hill 2? I just bought the remastered of Resident Evil 2, 3, and 4. They were on a significant sale.
They were.
Yeah, I tried to buy them for Riley, but it was.
Oh. It's so weird because sometimes you can buy the games for Riley, and then sometimes they're like, nope, region. And you're like,
Well, I
but-
got Resident
Like
Evil
a lot,
2
and you're
remake.
like, I was
did
gonna
find
get you 3 and 4,
Yeah.
but it wouldn't let me.
Interesting.
It's fine. They'll be on sale by the time I complete 4 Resident Evil 2 anyway.
You
If
test
not,
you? That's fair.
they're cheap as shit on CD keys and stuff.
Okay.
I mean, by then we
Yeah.
might be on another site.
Right? 3, 2, 1, jump. Jump. Right. Jump and shimmy. And jump. And
No!
shimmy.
Okay,
Jump.
okay.
and
Jump, run, jump!
and-
Just jump! Just go!
Yes!
Ah.
Fuck you!
Ah, yeah.
Alright, Mama needs a monster.
Oh.
The battle cry at the end.
Ah!
I'm just gonna walk ahead so I can see what's there. I'll just pull you along.
Okay.
That's fine. I guess we're having a violet. Since somebody drank the monster, it was in the fridge.
Okay.
Oh, great. We have to run this one, jump, and then run. So this is definitely going to be a...
Nope. Pull me.
Why?
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 I wanted to walk on it and see if the shimmy was still the same, but it's not. You gotta jump on it. It's not a walk on. I'm just don't. I said don't follow me.
Well, here we are.
Actually,
It actually works.
Okay.
beam us back up there.
Yep. I'm not doing all that work again. I'm good.
No.
I think that took 30 minutes on its own.
The shimmy
I
is the
will-
same.
Okay.
But how we're jumping on that one, I have no idea.
It's like a little baby jump.
Little bunny hop.
Maybe if we do kinky jumps, shimmies, you jump, shimmy, I jump, or I jump first, but
Okay.
I don't know how I feel about all of us jumping at once.
And do a 2x4? The 2x4 dance?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Are we ready?
Yep.
Sure.
I'm jumping on, shimmy. Okay, forward. Shimmy.
No!
No.
No! Just go. Just keep going. It's fine. It's
No,
not fine.
no, it's
it's not
not.
fine. Whoa!
They're just gonna hang out.
Oh, I wonder if we could have clipped it. Yes. Clip us. Okay.
Right. Once we're all on, we'll just make sure we're all actually on, and then we'll go forward every time the thing goes away.
Okay.
So I'll jump on, and I'll shimmy. And then once this one clears,
No,
then we'll go.
son of
Oh,
a bitch.
I'm just fucking. Fuck me!
Shimmy too much. I shimmy too much.
Just
You need
a
to
small
calm
one.
your shimmy.
Calm your shimmy
It's hard
before
to
I
do
cut
without
into your
arms.
veins.
Calm your shimmy.
Nope. Nope. Nope.
You know, Vincent, let's just keep going. And she
Just
can
go.
hang.
I can hang.
Nope.
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 You know what? I want
Oh,
to see what
yeah. If we can get back up there with the trampoline. Nah.
Nope.
No.
No.
Whee!
Oh my god.
Okay.
Beam us up.
Okay.
This should not be this hard.
Too much shimmy. Too much shimmy.
Just little taps.
A little tap tap.
Just tap,
Little
tap,
tappy
tap.
tap.
Little tappy tap.
Little tap tap.
Just
Happy tap.
Tapping. Good one go, and then and no, because that's our.
I didn't even make it onto the. What is that fucking log? I don't even know. Nary a toe touched that thing.
Three, 2, 1, jump. And shimmy. And oh
Shimmy.
shit.
Shimmy.
Shimmy. And then we just tappy and
Oh shit!
No!
Oh my god, woman!
What?
I was
Why?
falling and
Why?
I tried to jump. I was
Okay,
sliding and I
that's
tried to jump.
acceptable. Kinda.
Haven't done this much finger work since I was 20.
3, 2, 1, jump. Oh my god. Oh my. Nope, I didn't even make the jump. My head bounced off, so we're just hanging.
If we fell on the other side, it might be plausible.
No. I was
like
gonna
how I
figure out a
balanced
way.
that.
I was gonna figure out a way to get you through that.
I was nowhere near,
This is definitely
and I bounced.
a window into our psyche as well.
3, 2, 1, jump. Oh, for fuck's sake, I keep
Right?
bashing my
It
head.
doesn't let. It's such
I
a
can't
small
walk onto
margin,
it, why is there a thing above my head?
right?
Ah! So mad.
Okay.
Three, 2, 1, jump. Nope.
Well,
You
can do it. You can do it. we're
Yeah,
like
this part,
those
yeah.
those truck balls.
Wait, if you fall, maybe I can get on that side. Fall on Kinky's side. Okay.
I'm
Okay.
trying.
I'm Kinky Puller.
She can't.
I can pull you.
I should be able to grab this.
Uh,
Oh shit! What?
It's working. It's working.
pull Crimson's chain.
I'm just swinging.
Can you not see an option to pull her?
Only when I get
Trying
close
pull
to her.
Kinky. I'm trying to jump off it. I can't.
Oh,
There we go.
Oh.
There.
Oh,
Almost.
if I swing this way.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Oh,
If I could grab something, I would be fine. Truck
Oh
nuts.
my
Nope,
god,
it's gonna
now
be
you're on
Kinky.
my
It's gonna be-
side!
Okay.
It's gonna
Nope.
be
Yeah, it's not gonna be me.
It's gonna be me.
Ain't gonna bang bang. There's a pair of truck nuts.
You know what?
Okay, I
Let me
think
try to get on, and then both of you just
if
jump the fuck off that way.
we
Okay.
stand in the
Stand where?
sun, maybe? I don't know if that's where the lid is. I really can't. Okay.
What the fuck is she doing?
I just decided to shimmy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no!
Great. Wow.
Get your fucking asses up here and what the shit? What the shit?
Yeah, Crimson. What the shit?
Where'd the sun go?
I don't know.
Uh-oh. Okay.
I'm gonna jump on, and
You
then
jump on.
y'all can jump on whenever.
That's not
Oh,
jumping
but-
on. That's not jumping on.
Oh wait, I thought the plan was still falling.
No.
No, why is the
Okay.
plan falling?
That was one of the plans.
What?
Alright.
I don't know. I don't know. I give up.
Son of
Make a plan, execute the plan, expect the plan to fuck up, and then just YOLO it.
Yeah. We're gonna truck nut it. And then when she gets down to the end, start swinging your body towards the end to try and get around. And you better be ready to jump, Crimson.
So swing it this
I'm-
way?
Swing it towards the building.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay. Well, in theory, we executed it. Except for Crimson didn't jump.
The plan.
But it would work.
I quit.
It would work.
You can't quit. We have another 1 hour and 45 minutes.
We can do this. This is not the hardest thing we've ever been through. We can do it.
3, 2, 1, jump. Nope.
It's just what?
That time I actually hit my head for the first. Gonna take some ibuprofen real quick for no reason.
Mm-mm.
No reason at all. Definitely not a headache.
Mm-mm. Hey, friends. You wedged me in against the thing. I can't move. I can't move. Thank you. Okay. You know what?
You know what?
You got
This
it,
is fine.
Riley.
This is fine.
Nope.
Nope.
Nope. I went too far.
Nope. It's back to me.
Hold on.
And now it's kinky.
Hold on.
Hold on.
I'm not gonna.
I can't.
I'm
Okay,
gonna
so I
try and
swing
get you.
around there?
Nope.
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 Okay.
Well,
Okay.
it worked the first time when both of you were on the other side until I just shimmied too far.
Right?
It's hard to shimmy when you've got 2 people on you.
It's a little bit.
It's very hard. That's why I can't jump, because I've got weight on both sides. So I jump and I go.
Gonna jump on. Nope. Fill me up
Oh,
because this design is stupid.
you are supposed to be looking at it a different way. Shimmy, 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 forward,
Shimmy, shimmy.
shimmy, forward,
Shimmy, shimmy,
shimmy,
forward.
forward,
Forward.
shimmy, shimmy,
Shimmy,
forward,
Forward.
shimmy, forward,
Shimmy.
shimmy,
Shimmy. Forward.
forward, forward,
Shimmy into
Shimmy,
position.
shimmy. No!
Nope. 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 Nope.
Oh my god, we're so close.
Alright,
We're so
Kinky had already
close.
fallen
I know.
before anybody yells at me.
What's wrong?
I
I
was
said
the
Kinky had
ending
already
speed.
fallen before anybody yells at me.
Okay.
Maybe jump earlier.
Earlier. What do you mean jump earlier? To the next one? Jump over earlier onto the next one? Hmm.
Oh, you mean like I think she means instead of going all the way to the end of the first one, just jump over to the second one as soon as we can.
Mm-hmm. Doable. In theory.
I'm pouring Monster into Jigglypuff.
I don't see a gap. Other than the end.
Could you imagine?
I mean, we
Monster
could
coming
go
to Jigglypuff
when we
after
get to the
Jigglypuff?
middle and just decide not to go straight and try to jump sideways.
Yeah.
And then shimmy. But it's got to be a really small jump, I think. Shimmy,
I'm just
shimmy,
chilling
shimmy,
on here.
shimmy, Shimmy.
Shimmy.
Shimmy. Forward. Nope.
Nope.
Up, down.
Shimmy, forward,
We're not done
shimmy.
yet.
Nope.
Now we are.
No, I'm done.
And then that's me. Damn it. Whee! Almost had you on land. Almost. Make for the shout outs. Let's make sure BSS gets you to the Tiltify link. We had $251 of our $500 goal. We're on for a few more hours.
Maybe we need a donation. Maybe that's what we need. Bardic inspiration through donation.
Okay. You ready?
Yes.
Yep.
Everybody mentally prepared?
3, 2, 1, shimmy. Yep. Shimmy.
Shimmy.
Jump. Walk.
Shimmy.
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 Walk.
Shimmy.
Walk.
Walk.
So like here?
Shimmy.
Did you want to pull there? That was the plan? Jump there, I mean?
Yeah, I think in the middle.
Also, we should prepare ourselves. There's a sizable jump at the end.
Let's get it. Let's
On the
get to the
second
other
one.
log first. How about that?
Let's worry about one thing at a time.
Now I worry about all the things. You have the Audi. I only have the ADHD. Okay.
I've got both.
I have the
Yeah.
anxiety. I beat you all.
I have that too.
Yeah.
And the
That comes with the
depression.
ADHD.
And me
Yeah,
too.
I got
Yeah,
that.
we got that.
A little bit of the bipolar. I got a sprinkle of everything.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of the queer.
I got the disability lottery.
You know what?
Great start.
Cool. No problem. We will be here.
We're not going anywhere.
Okay. Everybody ready?
Yep. Ready, set, jump. Shimmy.
The lip of this
Wow.
fucking tunnel.
Shimmy. Walk. Shimmy. Walk. Shimmy.
Son of a bitch.
Oh shit!
I thought we were shimmying to jump now.
I don't think I was. There.
That was so fucking
Oh my god.
delayed.
Okay. That was further than the middle, so I thought we were just getting to the end. I believe. Well,
I believe I can fly.
we could definitely fly. That ain't the problem. That ain't the problem. Balance and grabbing, that's the problem.
Ready?
Yes.
Jump. Walk. Shimmy. So we jumping after this?
Yes. No.
No.
Guess not. I tried. I don't know if that's a we can't do that thing or that's a we can't do that thing. You know what I'm saying? Okay.
Nope.
I was gonna float on. gonna just float. Gonna. No, you can't make me stand up. Fine. Okay. Nope. Wouldn't let me get
Nope.
to the end. Okay. Okay. We can do this. We can do it. I believe in us.
I believe in us. I believe in
God,
the power of monster.
Okay, I'm actually on this time.
Yep, 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 yep. Okay. No! Son of a bitch.
Nope.
Okay, so I think I think we should jump as soon as we. God damn it! Stop. As soon as we reach the end of the second one, or the beginning of the second.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
The end of the second one. So, a third of the way in,
Yeah,
basically.
and then jump.
Jump at the.
I
At
might
the
have.
beginning
What's
of the
your plate?
second one.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what?
Oh, what you playing?
Chained together.
Change good together?
Mm-hmm.
What do you what does the players do?
They're pulling me.
Die.
They're pulling you?
Yep, they're pulling me.
They die.
Well, we fall. We fall a lot.
How do you play this game? Fall. So we go what, 2 rungs in, and then we jump.
Okay. Willing to try anything?
Well, a little bit.
A little bit.
A little bit.
I'll
Can
just
I
shimmy
lick
well.
Can I lick it?
You can.
Wait, we're coming from.
It's
Shimmy, shimmy, yay, shimmy, yay, shimmy,
Shimmy, shimmy.
Okay.
Shimmy,
La,
shimmy,
la,
shimmy.
la.
Okay.
Shimmy,
La,
shimmy.
la, la, la.
I'm here. I'm here.
La la la.
Shimmy, yay,
No!
shimmy,
No!
la.
Go without
There's
me,
still
go
2 of
without
us.
me.
There's still 2 of us.
Okay, I want it. You're calling me free in the morning.
I wonder if we. No. Okay.
No!
Maybe I should just fall on the other side and let you do it.
Wait, I can pull. I can pull. If you look at Kinky, you can pull Kinky to the side.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Okay. And now that we're both at the side, oh, you're the middle. You're absolutely fucked. What do you mean go?
I don't know.
This game said go.
No!
I saw that. 3, 2, 1, go. What do you mean?
I think I pushed something. Oh, I did.
Oh. We had that.
Oh, the
The whole
whole time.
We had that 5 hours and 14 minutes.
Why did you press for that?
R.
Oh, it works
Shut
for all of us. I hate this.
All right. Well, we learn something new every time. Okay. I mean, for sure, if you can end up on the inside part and not the outside part, I think you can be dragged to the end. Well, will that be easy for whoever's doing the drag? No. But it's potentially something that can be done.
Ready?
I'm ready.
3, 2, 1, that.
It's the looking over at the other log that is kind of throwing me off, I think. Nope, went too far.
Oh shit!
Oh no,
shit.
wait.
Shit, oh,
Hold
shit.
on, hold on.
Wait! No!
Oh, so
But
close.
that's progress.
We're so... But we were
I just
right.
think that we should do it a little bit sooner than that.
A little faster.
Jump a little bit earlier.
Okay.
Ready? 2, 1, jump.
Shit. I'm sorry.
You're fine. You're on the right side.
Nope.
Nope. Okay. Well.
Hey everybody. How you doing? How you doing, chat? You good?
Any of it.
Time for another little siesta. Ching, 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 ching.
Ready?
Mhm.
Go. Right. So if we 3, 2, 1, jump. Oh,
No,
So close!
no. Oh. Hey, Thea.
Tia tia.
We're right there. We're almost there. We can do it. We can do it. It's do we have the patience to do it? That's really the bigger one.
No, the problem is we're all stubborn.
Yeah, I do. Nope.
what?
Shit.
What?
Just watch
What?
you lemur off.
The fuck was that?
You both just flunk.
You dragged me off,
I was like, oh, okay.
You fell first.
but I didn't even walk or click anything.
The
My
game's
hands
against
wasn't even
us.
on the
I was just a
keyboard.
spectator in this part.
The game is against. I like how the game is trying to like tell you like we see you're struggling. Maybe you
Nope.
should try this.
Yeah, the game is like, This is a hard part for you. We're not going to make it easier.
No, in the top right corner of your screen, it keeps saying, "Are you stuck?" In the pause menu, go to the highest, safest safest location, and it might get you past.
No. Could have pointed out
Gonna
to you.
shimmy my... Nope.
Nope.
Not shimmy my ass up there.
I got you. I got you. I got you.
The jump is really a lie. This is what I've... Shimmy, shimmy, forward, shimmy, shimmy, shimmy. Forward, shimmy, shimmy. Maybe. Son of a... Oh. Did somebody get over there?
No.
There was something
Swing,
to.
Kinky, swing.
I'm swinging. I'm swinging. If it would let me grab something, please.
If your arms only your arms work. Oh shit!
No,
I almost got you.
you almost had me. Oh. Okay,
Crazy. Yeah.
we're close. We're so close. We're so
we're
close.
We're losing it.
Okay. If I can yeet my part of my body over there onto one side.
Right, I'm going to jump in 3, 2, 1, jump. No, the log! No, the log, you dirty bastards! No! Oh my god! Can you pull Kinky up a bit? No.
Oh, I'm gonna pull you up. I'm gonna pull you. Please, please let me do it.
Crimson swing a bit.
Oh my
god!
Vindication!
Vindication!
I'm gonna hang out in the outhouse right now. Big strong Kinky. My
Ooh.
tactic every time.
Got a little lightheaded. Well lightheaded.
What is this? Oh,
There.
We're going, I'm just running round.
is it not a? Oh,
Yeah, I don't
maybe
know
we have
if
to
I'm
go
going
inside.
round
Is
this thing.
there an inside? Or do we have to climb these? We're being risky now.
I guess it is inside?
Okay, so the cement.
Yeah, it's the cement and up from there.
Parkour!
Parkour! I'll just dangle. I'm fine. We are at 251 of our goal of 500 for the ACLU. Exclamation point BSS will get you that link. And we will be here for a few more hours.
Hour and a half. Well, we are here for this one for another hour and a half. Then.
Dead end? Ooh, wings!
Oh. Yay! Collect 10 to unlock angel wings for longer gliding. Okay. So does that mean there's more than 10?
I don't.
Now we don't care about go anymore.
Oh, okay.
I think it's this
So
one.
the back here.
Yeah. Yeah, because we didn't go
Straight. No, there's no straight. So this way?
I feel like we did this. Oh,
Here we are.
Oh, okay.
Not the fucking cube again!
Okay. Forward. Left. Right. Backwards, right? Nope, right.
Forward, left, right.
Back.
Forward, left, right, back.
Alright. And then we have to wait until this platform comes back around.
When are we going?
Now.
Like what? Oh, we needed to go on that. That
Woo!
makes sense.
Oh, okay. So there's another one just like this coming.
No!
Shit.
Help! Help!
Okay, okay, okay.
Okay, okay, okay.
Now do kinky.
Okay. Wait, okay, there's over there. So this side? This side. I think it's this
Yeah,
side.
Sean donated $100 first thing this morning. Alright. And
Jump!
go. Are you asking Lestat to help you, or were you asking for help because of Lestat?
What are we
I don't know. I think I
doing
preferred
here?
looking at the hellscape.
We're jumping on
one?
that platform.
Are we jumping on the platform?
Yeah.
I
Alright.
think so, but I don't know how we're getting back up.
Ah.
There you are. I'm taking a little nap because I had so much work. I don't think you're ready for what's coming next. Oh, I almost forgot. If you fall, try not to scream too loud. I wouldn't want to wake up from my dream.
Go
Also,
somewhere
I've
else.
seen a
There's
few
so
things
much
as
room.
well. Oh, I love it.
I'm gonna grab my phone charger.
Okay.
Alright.
Still here. Still at the table, not at my other table.
Okay. Cruise, but I don't see him helping. I do see Lestat helping if the wind is right. Ah. Okay. Maybe.
A little bit of a jump.
Oh god. Nope. I knew it and still did it. So. You know what?
No, no.
Sometimes your legs don't
Shit,
work,
I'm
and then
pulling
they
yours.
work so much that I have to not jump at all. What's happening? What's
I every time I tried to grab yours, it just pulled Riley. I think that Lestat would find Thea very interesting.
Oh, for sure.
The rest of us, not so much. But Thea, yeah.
Maybe. I think collectively we have a.
I think collectively he'd study us science.
I don't think we all would die right away. You know what I'm saying? Okay. No. You bitch. Oh god.
Bigger jump.
2, 1, jump.
Oh, look at that. I was the only one.
Not gonna lie, I think I missed that jump, but then it repelled me
This
into
is
you.
good.
Oh shit. All right.
When this one goes, we go.
Nope.
Okay.
3, 2, 1. Okay, there is a gap in between them. I didn't know there. I didn't think there was at first. So I just stand in the gap. When this goes again, we do it again.
Only one, because this has we gotta run this.
3, 2, 1, again.
Ah! We're fine.
I'm so normal about that.
Just gonna be entertained. I'm having a great time tonight. Oh,
Wicked's like,
balls.
I'm not.
Oh
the
no!
problem."
What?
What the fuck do you think you're doing, you fucking Fanny?
I don't know.
I can't. I can't. You all got out on the wrong side. All right. Yeah. Okay.
Whew.
I mean, this is still going better than the roller people, the roller area, so... Okay. I see the vision. I
Uh-huh.
don't like it.
I think we should jump on and then wait until it goes all the way around and then jump.
I like the vision, I just don't like the non-communication part of it.
I mean, I agree with that, but like...
Yeah.
So after it comes
Look,
back around, we'll get on it.
Okay.
Yes, optimistically we will do that. Oh, I did that.
Well,
Okay.
Two of us did.
I did. Son of a bitch! Stop! That's enough. That's more than enough. At least my feet are on the ground, and that's what matters.
No, I'm getting a headache from laughing too hard. Can't fucking win. All right.
I believe in you. I believe. But
I believe I can't spell believe.
listen.
I wonder.
I feel like we could get on. We could get on and like climb.
Nope.
Yeah, just like that.
Oh. Okay. Okay. I'm just gonna keep
Just
shimmying, I guess.
yeah, just stay there.
Yeah. Nope.
Nope. Okay.
I was doing it, but then I wasn't, and then I was.
Sure. I wonder if we get on the bridge
See, my first thought-
under it.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, if it's like I want to. I don't. We'll get hit.
If you jump onto it. Sure,
I tried
that
to
too.
Yeah, and I just got smacked.
Sure. Please just keep trying. No! No! No.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know what
okay,
this
yeah.
is doing, but
Okay.
Oh my god! Shut the fuck, Greg! No!
it pulled me off because she's on the other side.
No.
Shit!
You know what?
Okay,
I'm just gonna
You're
swing,
right there. Just grab it. You're
Swing.
fucking right there. There you go. Grab it.
swing,
Grab it.
and we're swinging.
okay.
There we go. There we go.
Okay. fuck
Just
me.
stay.
Okay, I'm gonna do this.
Okay.
Shit.
I'm trying to get you away from the center. Gosh. Okay.
Okay, we're away from the center.
The power.
Oh, hey, Sully. Looks like you had a good morning. Okay.
Oh,
Why?
fuck.
Why? To what
I
end?
was trying to pull Riley up, and then he moved. Next one.
Let me just. Okay, no, that's fine.
I jumped.
I too jumped. There you go.
Yeah.
What? I can pull one person up, but I fall.
Now you all are. Okay. Okay, yeah. If we get on in the center,
Just need to get
Damn it.
you up again.
yes.
Okay, now get Kinky. Oh, fuck me.
Nope.
It's not.
Okay, I can. Get me on the other side. There we go. Nope. Okay. Okay. We're close.
I hate that it. Even if I'm looking at Kinky and Kinky's chain, it will reach behind me and pull right. And it doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
Next one.
I really feel like if we got. This is fun. Okay.
Oh,
Stay!
hey,
Stay!
what the hell happened?
One of you went and then the other one went.
Riley didn't move and fell, so
Homophobic.
very.
Okay.
It does. That is exactly what it looks like, Merle. All right, next one.
One.
What?
Really?
What?
Really? Me
Where
pulling
were
myself up
you?
lower overrode you two higher than me pulling up?
Yes, because
How?
you're the middle.
That's what the middle does.
You have the power.
I shouldn't.
It's gonna go on this one. Ah, no, we're not. No, we're not. Don't do it. I'm stuck.
You're
I'm in a take
stuck.
shot. What? What? Why have I got a take shot?
Oh,
I'm
God.
alone.
Did you hit T?
I can't see. Go away.
What the fuck?
Oh, there we go.
This one?
Right. Yes.
There. Stop.
Fuck!
I'm just gonna keep doing it. I'm just gonna keep. No, I'm not.
Son of a biscuit.
I have a cunt waffle.
That yeah, this is definitely not the middle that I wanted to. Kind of hope it was gonna be like Rhea and Io Sky, not.
Next one.
Okay.
There. I'm just gonna float us.
Try and shimmy into the middle.
Shimmy. Get it.
Shimmy, yeah, shimmy, yeah, shimmy,
Okay,
yeah.
now climb on.
Okay,
That's what I wanted to do. Okay.
okay. Crimson, I
You're
swear to
at a
God.
weird angle. Stop it!
Gonna fall.
You put your foot on there. No. No. No.
You pull me, and I'm gonna pull him.
Like, I
Shit.
protest the next time we play this, Crimson's not in the middle.
Oh my god. How do we even
No, I should definitely
guarantee
be
that?
Because
He has
she
to
joins
join
the game
after.
second. Because she
Ah.
joins second, she's the middle.
Jump! Get your reef. That better not start running. That thing better not start running. Okay.
Oh wait, I think we have to push it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because
Acceptable. I was just waiting to like suddenly spin us off the fucking.
I hate this more than a trampoline.
Same.
Weird casting choice. Never figured out the logic. Please. Let's give it. This is not. Once and never again.
Wait,
What do you mean?
at least we get a building soon.
Okay.
It looks like maybe. 3, 2, 1.
Oh my
God.
grab! We were so close. Oh, this is gonna be bad. Yep.
Weirdly, I think this one was easier. Ah!
It actually was easier. We just gotta get the height on the last one.
Oh, we skipped it.
Oh,
Never mind.
because we got pretty close.
Yeah.
It's... I'll take the little help.
What the fuck?
You gotta wait for the tire to come back.
And do what with it?
Right?
Like, how low is this tire getting? Okay, I guess. Shimmy, shimmy, yay, shimmy, yay.
Keep going!
Ah!
And jump.
Oh my god. This angle wigs me the fuck out. I can't. That's too weird. That's too weird.
Oh, you fucking kidding me?
Okay.
This is wind power. Is it?
No, it's a magnet.
Nope, I like this even less. I like this even less.
Well, we can't die, so... Oh, there we go.
But we can't die.
We can't
Pick me
die.
up.
There it is.
Yeah.
Totally not causing break.
Run! Alright. 1,310? 11? 12?
What? How did you get this far? I must have dozed off. A rookie mistake. But worry not. The worst is yet to come. Your little adventure is about to turn into a real nightmare.
What does that mean, weird god? Oh.
Oh!
Oh no!
We got
You
do it
gotta
one at a
stay
time.
on it!
We gotta do it one at a time. That's what I thought you were doing, but then y'all started coming with me.
I
1,
still have to follow you.
2. Two.
Swear to God. Did you let my feet hit the ground first?
Nope.
I think we need to move faster.
But I don't think we need to move out. I think we're okay.
We just need to stay one person on the button.
That's you. You go.
Now it's you, then it's Kinky,
Okay.
and then it's me. Just make sure I actually hit because you're the one that has to pull me up.
Ooh, solid ground for a second. Solid-ish ground.
Hold on. What?
These little stairs don't scare me.
And if it was only you, that'd be fine. Sorry for the delay. What's up to your socials? Yeah, I mean. TV.
Parkour!
Back up. Who is that?
It's 2 wind traps in a row.
Love
It's
it.
over here. Is anything?
I'll be able to get up on this. Here. Anything up here?
Nope.
Let's give us a view, though. Alright. We gotta make it to that meeting space. But then...
And they're going in
all
up.
the way down to that other
Yeah.
No, they're
building.
going the same direction.
they go the same direction. We gotta try and not hit the air on the second one. Listen, game.
Anonymous, thank you so much for the $10 donation. We appreciate it.
Anonymous. We are at
We got
$261.
$10 towards Mantis as being worthy to hold Thor's hand.
Ah, yeah. How's that doing?
We have 3 polls and we have 1 vote on each poll.
Yes.
Go after this one or the next one?
Next one.
Next one. This one.
Run. Go. Nope. Run.
Just chill. Just
I was trying. I was trying. So close. Okay. So. Next one. This one. Now. Oh.
nope. Because there's a fucking ledge.
Yeah, there's a lip.
Oh, it didn't let me jump. I almost had you on the other one. Oh, he landed on the tire. Okay. Can we get on the ledge? Do you think?
Yeah.
Okay. Grab with your little toes. There you
No
go.
hands.
Little monkey toes.
Your little one.
After this one coming.
Go.
Let's go.
No. It went rogue. It went rogue. Please help me.
My head's gonna hurt so bad.
Why are there arrows? They didn't usually give us arrows. Oh no!
And just some window shopping. Oh, now I can pull Riley.
Oh, good. I'm just checking the sides. Okay. Oh. I was gonna resign to my fate, but I like how you like now it gives us arrows. I don't know if it's gonna let me. Oh, it might let me pull you up.
This is not where we need to be.
It is not. It's not.
We're not going to be able to get up there otherwise. You may as well just teleport us.
I know.
Oh,
It's fine.
I think we could just run and jump that.
I really like we could.
Well, then let's do it.
Mhm.
3, 2, 1, run, jump. Nope.
Yes, kind of. At least someone did. That's all that matters.
Wait, wings.
Where? Where?
Where?
Right there.
Where?
I'm looking at him. All right, jump back.
Ready?
What?
Over
3,
there.
2, 1. One more time.
3, 2, 1, go.
Girl.
Thank you, Meryl. Come the fuck on.
There's a rail.
Thank you, Bo.
Thank you, Merle.
Love your face. I bet we have
Oh,
to
yeah,
climb
an
that.
air pipe.
Air pipe. Can we look on the?
What?
Can we
Go
look
go
what?
on.
look up
Yeah, I want to go up.
Move it, woman.
Can we?
Nope.
Oh
Nope.
wow! Rude.
Why no ladder if ladder shape?
Right?
Ah! Oh, for fuck's sake, it's another button.
Is it for this door?
Oh,
No.
There's a timer?
Hold on.
Absolutely not.
We can do it. We can do it. Hey, big bad goats.
Yeah, but
I
not when
really
we-
like
Hey,
this
goat.
game. It's so good. It's so
How you doing,
chaotic.
goat?
Really tested the friendships, you know?
Actually, it doesn't. I don't think it tests our friendship as much as I originally thought it would. Riley's patience, yes.
I mean,
True words have never been said.
Yeah, I'm glad you're doing well, big bad goats. Welcome in. We are raising money for the ACLU. Exclamation point BSS will get you that link. We have raised $261 for the American Civil Liberties Union. If you know what all's going on in the American government, ACLU helps fight against that. It may not seem like there's winning battles, but ACLU has won several cases so far. So every little bit helps, you know?
You gotta get all the jitters out, and then we'll do this.
Okay.
I'm ready whenever.
Take it. All right.
Oh,
3.
well, okay. Oh, we're definitely not gonna get that.
Nope.
I'm just gonna go ahead and do
Jump
that.
back, jump back, jump.
Just gonna just do that. I think with friends
Right.
back in the day, it was testing. Yes, it's very.
You two.
It's very testing.
You two get on the edge.
I was on the air conditioner.
Now 3, 2, 1. Nope. 3, 2, 1.
Nope, I fucked it up for everybody.
Okay.
I can see that.
3, 2. We should just do quick 3, 2, 1, and then jump. Okay.
Get on the fucking ledge.
Trust me, I've been here for a long time.
3, 2, 1.
3,
3,
2, 1.
2, 1. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1.
Do what?
Hurry up, quick, we have time. Go!
Let me out!
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it gets like laugh tear crying kind of situation. I think we need at least 2 bounces for that.
Yeah, at least.
Unless we're supposed to be looking over here.
I don't.
Where
need-
are we supposed to be looking?
No, right in front of us. I
In
think.
front? Okay. It's such
If
a
I'm wrong, I'm
ridiculous
wrong.
game, but it works. And oddly, we've done better than we thought we would. But at the same time, it definitely tests the
a bit.
patience. Alright, we good?
3, 2, 1, jump.
What?
And
We-
Wait,
I-
go! Go! Why didn't you go?
Two jumps, go. 2 jumps, then we fucking fly.
Right?
Okay.
Forward.
3,
Okay.
2, 1, jump.
And
And
Jump
then...
2.
Over, forward,
And
forward,
over.
forward.
Okay. And
do it again. 3, 2,
3,
1,
2,
jump.
1.
Women, I already started counting.
And forward. Nice.
Flawless.
Looks like we gotta climb a pipe.
Take it over everything else I've had to climb on.
Is it a crack type?
I don't think you want that and your ADHD med. So.
No. I mean, same thing.
Right, but then you're stacking them. Your heart doesn't like having little palpies as is.
I have to take medicine for my palpies.
Yeah. I'll be real honest and ask the question.
Uh-huh.
Could we have just walked across the tree islands?
Maybe this is one of those times your inside thoughts should stay the fuck inside.
Why? Ah! Okay, we're fine.
Okay, so we have a
No, we can
or-
just walk this way.
She wanted to go up. I can't control her. Oh, I don't like that.
Your inside thoughts may have been a dick the first time, but the inside thoughts made me think about this on the second time.
Oh, there's
yeah,
a
it's your
button.
favorite. It says we can't see.
What does that mean? We can't.
Absolutely
1, 2,
no.
3, 4, 5, 6 forward. 4. Left. Or do we want to say 3
Alright.
left?
All right, chat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 forward.
I'm just gonna
3
cheat.
left.
Well, 1, 2,
3
3.
forward.
That's 6 forward, and then 3 to the left.
6 forward. 3 left. 3 forward.
1,
4
4
left.
left.
6 forward.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2 right.
Right. 2 back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 right.
Right.
1, 2,
2,
5 forward.
And hypothetically, maybe we could jump from that and not have to worry about the ends, but I can't
4 left.
tell.
And 5 forward.
Do I not count as a person button? The fuck? Wow.
Apparently not.
It's like the... That's the alert. I see.
Big Bad Goat, thank you you so
Big-
much. Oh. Alright, go. Here, your colors are. Can't see me, but your color options are purple, blue, red,
There's no such thing as too
White.
small of a donation. We appreciate
black.
every little bit. Thank you for your donation, Big Bad Goat.
Big Bad Goat. He's one of my buddies from Filling in the Gap there in the
I
stream.
think we could do the forward part and jump onto the
Purple,
helipad.
please.
I think we could do that. What do you think?
I think I took screenshots, so I'm ready to go.
Okay.
Hold on, I gotta put Big Bad Goat's name on my face. I don't know how I'm gonna do that, but
You have a mirror?
I do.
So Crimson has the smaller donation goal stuff. You can't see them, but you will be able to see it later today. It said purple, please.
Yep.
Okay.
I'll take a picture for you, Goat. Oh, I was like, where's my phone? Directly in front.
See, I got a new chair. Look at. I get to sit like a grown-up. So far, it is actually pretty nice. I'm always so leery. I've had such bad luck with chairs. I need to get a new chair mat because this one's literally disintegrating. It's been used so much. So yeah, definitely I kept researching and researching and researching and researching. And really most chairs don't go up over 250 or 350. So finding one that goes over 450, which I'm at 450 now. I've lost a little over 40 pounds.
I'm so proud of you.
It's not been an easy journey doing that.
No, it has not, and it has been a shit journey. But you've done it.
Yeah. And it'll be worth it at the end. But like for health reasons, like surgery. We're losing weight for surgery. That's the goal.
That's mainly what.
So I can have an
big
abdomen
people have to
again.
lose weight for. Wait, you gonna see my if you see my shiny purple face? Oh wait, hold on. I saw OBS open.
Bye-bye to Quatina. I just think
you.
Quatina. Abdomens are over. I have to say, actually, they are not. Oh.
My beautiful shimmery Big Bad Goat.
What did Sully do? Sully did stickers today? Or yeah.
Sully ate parsley, did stickers, and showed us Tom Tom.
Parsley.
For
You don't like
beautiful-
parsley?
Yeah. Parsley to them is cilantro to me.
Cilantro is cilantro to me, and I'm so
This is
scared.
much more terrifying
I'm
with
so
no
scared.
face.
Okay.
Right, if I go forward, maybe, like, no, give me some distance, woman. If I go forward, if I go too far, I could be pulled up.
I'm just gonna wait back here.
Yes. See?
Okay.
And then
Alright.
it's go along. I can do that again. I can be the scapegoat. Ah!
Nope.
That's
Oh,
not
oh.
fun!
That did not. It is that's 100% terrifying. Yep. We barely do well when we can see it with our eyeballs. Oh, you don't want to see it again? Okay.
Nope. I got a picture. That's enough for me.
Ah!
Kind of.
Listen.
Pink. Nope. Pull me. Pull me. Pull me. Pull me. Pull me. Pull me. Nope.
Like,
I'm gonna try. I'm pulling somebody. What the fuck? What? Why are you over there? I'm so
Nope.
confused. It's not an invisible shortcut, unfortunately. Okay, cool.
maybe I should do it?
I don't know. We had to push a button, look and memorize the amount of squares, or take a screenshot, and now we have to try and walk it.
Right.
I feel
This
like-
is so close to the satellite. This has got to be the left.
I feel like it has to be.
And then when you get to the satellite, on the corner, which should be right here, I should have to turn right, which I only go forward for like a tiny couple blocks ahead of him. And then I should have to turn left. Please, Lord, have... Nope. Okay, now I know I'm definitely at the edge. Okay, and then we get to the tree, and that is then we go right again, which would take us to the other said tree. And then we turn right, which should take me 3 blocks around the tree. I'm not skipping any steps because my memory's working.
You don't remember this part? Oh. Maybe we did find a shortcut.
Maybe it's around here. Yeah. Which should go all the way around the thingy.
But it's not a
Solid.
fun shortcut. Just so you know, Big
Just so we're
Paco.
clear, we are not having fun.
It's terrifying actually. Does it
And
seem
then
like we could
should
jump?
be right here. I don't want to jump.
Okay, never mind.
Not
I
well
feel like we
invisible.
could. Maybe. Nope.
Nope, I must. That's the edge. That's the edge.
Pull head.
And it's just straightforward.
Oh my god.
Why am I holding this part and not the railing?
I don't know. Is there a hook there? Oh, this
Nope.
chain went up inside me and right under me. Is this where? Okay.
Three, two, one.
Oh god.
Oh shit! That was so close to the blades.
I think we all have to
Alright.
jump at the same time.
3, 2,
2,
1.
1. It doesn't really matter about Crimson. She's just a middle.
Oh. We gotta pump it. She's gotta pick a side
Yeah.
and then go. Oh.
Ah!
No.
That's not at all comforting.
Okay.
I'd like to go inside now, please. Thank you.
I'd like to go to the inside.
I'd like to go into the inside.
Yeah, Crimson in the middle.
All right, the thingy, that thingy, was pretty cool.
Yeah, I kind of like that one. What
Yeah,
are you
but-
looking at? What are you looking at?
What are you
What are you looking at?
Someone asked my list of like order of doing the BTS members. And I was like, I've had this list for weeks. For
Doing the
months.
BTS members.
I have my list of the exact order. Why don't
You are
have a
way
quick
less
chat?
chaotic than my friends.
You don't know us.
Right. So we do good if we can work together and accomplish the goal, but once the goal becomes very hard, things get a little weird.
A little bit.
Aggressive.
Very aggressive.
Super aggressive.
It's so glad you asked. Are we talking about BTS and how I do them?
I'm so
I
glad
have
you
an
asked. I know
itemized
the
list.
exact order of the list, the positions, who's top, who's bottom.
So, would you let Jungkook top?
Listen, I want to say this because I think it's funny, and not to bring anything down. Just understand that I want to say this.
Yeah.
The bottom, from least egregious racism to most egregious racism.
Oh God.
We found all that out at the same time. That was interesting. I like my little guy
Gotta
with
keep
red.
my eyes out for any wings.
Can't remember his name right now, but I like him.
And to answer your question about Jungkook, it would have to be a double switch flip fuck situation.
Double switch.
Because Jungkook has an ass anyone would want to die in.
So that's your number
hate
one.
that. No.
Oh.
Oh yeah, they move.
Jimin's first,
Okay.
obviously. Then you got Yoongi. Then T. Then Kook. Then Hobie. Then Jin. Then Jun.
I'll tell you, the first time they did it, I thought we were going to have a friend divorce. And the first time, listen, we didn't watch anything about this game. At least I didn't. So I didn't know we could go back to the place that we died.
We wasted a lot of time.
Oh my God!
Starting
Like
again.
2 hours. before we
Restarting from the
realized.
very beginning. So about what, 2 hours in, I realized, and then things started to get a little bit easier. Okay. Ooh. A little bit of a burp. We did that as well. You didn't. There's not like a actual tutorial. They're just like, go.
In, out, 2, 3. Okay, so we have like 2 seconds.
3, 2, 1, jump.
Ah!
3, 2, 1, jump.
Jump.
3, 2, 1, jump. This one comes out, jump. Then jump up.
Ooh,
See how efficient that was?
that
Holy
was so
shit.
efficient. Look at when we got things together and clicking. It's smooth. It's smooth.
Smooth sailing, baby.
Give
Groovy,
us a
baby.
rolly log with some pegs on it,
Oh
though.
my God.
We're fucked.
We're
all
so
fucked.
fucked.
A fucking rolling container.
Oh.
What in?
Oh no.
Oh no.
I got to math.
We got
We
a
have to figure out the
geometry.
pattern.
Okay, what's the green?
Okay.
Okay, hold on. What?
So is that yellow up at the top? Okay. Yeah.
Okay, this is yellow at the top, so let's figure out.
Gotta get it to
Wait,
the
okay.
stairs. Yeah, like that, I think.
We have to get to that ladder. So...
Right, so I think the back end is supposed to align with the stairs. The lower two? I don't quite like that. Maybe... Oh, I don't know.
That?
Maybe?
That's not gonna work.
I don't think that's gonna work.
No.
I think
Okay,
the
no,
lower,
it's
the
not.
longest lower one needs to, yeah,
Needs to
align with
come
the
to
top
us.
to this stair. Oh, maybe if we could get close enough, we could just jump on that. I think we could jump.
I think we
don't
work
think
on
we
the
can
other
jump that
ones
high up.
and then the yellow.
Okay.
Like maybe red first.
Well, I was trying to go from.
I think we have to
Last
fall
first.
down onto red. Red did it a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wait.
yeah. Okay, you're right.
Yeah.
No, we have to fall down onto it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then,
Blue match up with red.
with red and green. Something like that, maybe?
Back a bit.
A little bit.
Into bit.
There you go. And
Okay.
then,
That's more comfortable for me. And then green. Green kind of lines up already. Like the bottom half of green.
the bottom half of green does, yeah.
It looks like
I
a
love
long
this.
jump.
Looks so close. Okay. Yeah. No,
This
that's
one?
I think that, yeah.
Yeah, but
No,
that's a
no.
big jump between green and yellow.
No, because we still have to move yellow.
How? I think
Yeah,
these,
it was already touching the ladder where it was.
I think
Alright,
the
but we
green,
still gotta.
the green corner, them steps need to lead up to the yellow, so the green needs to rotate some more.
Let's get yellow under. I guess.
Yeah.
Right? So which part
yeah,
of
so
yellow?
Hold on. Yellow was right where it was. Wasn't it? Shit, now
I'm really confused as to where you're going with it now. You have to know your limits. We tried to tough it out at first, but it didn't work.
Can we just restart, like reload us to the highest point, and yellow will already be lined up?
Sure.
Okay. But
It definitely
it's
is not.
But why is it not lined up like it was before?
I think
Because it wasn't touching.
green is already maybe not.
God. Oh, are they like that? No.
Really aren't.
That's not
I'm
near
so
the ladder.
confused. That's not the ladder. It's got to be this long side. I'm thinking,
Oh, yep.
but like
That is not even close either. Oh, the really long side.
the really long side. Yeah. I think that's yeah.
That's where I had it!
Right. Okay. Yes, you had it there. But then,
Now we got a match green.
yeah.
I feel like these steps are the way for the green. That's way too high.
I feel like I think we need to get a closer, maybe. Maybe not. Hold on. We gotta look at angles here.
Aye, we
I
ain't
think
jumping that.
I think
Should
they're
we just
lined
go
up.
try? Should we just fuck around, find out, and try?
Oop. Oh. Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Alright.
3, 2, 1, jump.
No!
Ugh.
No!
We did it
Son
the
of a
same.
bitch.
Bill Kinky.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I think we should be able to. Maybe? What do you think?
Shit. Fuck. I think we can do it. I just think I overshot.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we should be able to do this.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
That jump looked way bigger, like far away.
It really did look far away.
Ooh. Ooh. Oh shit. Where the fuck did y'all come from?
Oh. Well.
Go.
Oh god. Okay, we're fine. That's fine.
Oh, I think I fucked us.
Oh! Oh! Oh god! Oh god! Oh god! Oh god! Oh god! Oh god! Keep going! Oh no! Okay, no, we're cool. That's fine. That's fine.
Anxiety.
Wait, we're in packaging hell? We're in UPS
Is
hell.
this why Amazon just takes so long?
Yeah.
Yep.
Takes a little turn into purgatory before.
I feel more confident walking from here
Okay.
because we can just walk on.
Yeah.
So we'll walk on this one. But I hate what we're walking into.
Yeah.
We
I think
got
we
it.
just
I am-
jump onto that one. Nope. Okay.
I love the communication.
I said I think we
I-
just jump. They just jumped.
Yeah, they just jumped. I loved your communication. I totally hated, that 3, 2,
Oh,
1,
okay.
go.
Wait. No. Wait. Is everything
This is
still
not the
lined up?
highest part.
Okay.
Then boxes are higher. Why is this not the highest point?
Why? Why do you do this?
Y'all are like amazing. I hope you know how much I love you.
Mm-hmm.
For me to be willing to throw myself off an edge to get you on another edge while having crippling anxiety.
Well, the monster
Oh,
doesn't
well.
help with that. I just want you to
I know the pain. Well, the monster does not help with that.
Yeah, but it keeps me going. The monster stops the headaches.
I should have made my husband get
I mean,
me
it
some
causes them
coffee.
too, but like it stops it.
We'll run into that bridge when we need to.
It doesn't solve everything, but it solves enough. I can deal with anxiety. I can't deal with a headache.
love it when I like look it up and it's like they still not sure what causes headaches. I'm like, maybe you need to fucking work on it.
I forgot!
What the shit?
I forgot.
It's like, where the fuck are you going?
Alright, hold on. Hold on.
It was an accident. You shall forgive me.
We got a power pony.
Kinky said hold on, so you jumped off.
Yeah, onto where we need to go. I can drag Kinky to where we need to be until I need a jump. Get with the memo.
And then this
Yeah,
journey for me.
fun.
Yes, could you? Oh, fuck me. Fill me up! Me and you are seriously gonna fall out. Fucking pull Kinky while I'm pulling you.
Power pony equipped.
No, wait. If I pull her, she will fall off.
Okay, I'm back. I'm here.
See, we got you far. I just levitated up here. It didn't even look like I was grappling on the side.
Time to get super cereal. What?
I slipped.
Why arms no work?
If arm shape, why not arm?
No work. Wait a second. Come here.
I thought we potentially jump onto one of these, but I don't know.
I don't think we can.
Let's risk it. Make sure you hit none of the sides of these things.
I'm
Straight line.
straight on.
Alright.
3, 2, 1, run!
Nope.
I tried.
Oh, we were close though. But I don't think we can.
Worth a try.
If we could have... Nah, I don't
Could
think that
have.
would work. If we could move the green so we could still get on to the yellow. Maybe.
Yeah. It's just a bit shit that the cardboard boxes are not classified as a higher area, because I guess it's not solid ground.
Yeah. The little mounds we can climb onto don't really count, I don't think, either. We get super cereal. Super cereal. Okay. Could we not do that? Maybe. You think?
If the middle could get over here, I could try.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yay!
I couldn't move. Okay.
Okay.
When it goes again, we go. Oh,
Oh no! No!
I'm used to us just
I
going up
saw
the
the
first time.
inevitability. Ah!
That's
What?
the first time
What?
we've done it different, okay?
I don't understand. What do you mean do it different? We had done it successful before.
Yeah, we wait till it pushes once and then we go up.
Right, but everybody
Wait.
wasn't up at the same level. Okay.
I just looked down and you were like,
I was getting impatient. It happens.
Look here, lady. You are the middle. I don't know how you've not got the point after 3.5 hours. You are never in front of us.
okay.
I thought we're just gonna do the jump again.
Oh, yeah, we can do that. I mean, it did work out. It just...
Now we'll wait for everyone to be in position. It'll do the smacky wacky, and we go. And again.
Look at us. See, it's a real good test on how well we've worked with our neurodivergence. of us with ADHD are impulse control.
Now, what are we doing?
Okay. Let's go
Are
around
we
one.
just go around
Let's
again?
just go around and feel this out.
We just have to stay on the box to get to that container.
Yes. Okay.
So it's like shimmy backwards after jumping on.
Yeah. Okay.
So are we jumping on this box here?
Yes, right now.
Right, okay.
Get up and
Can
then
we
shimmy
shimmy
back.
back?
No.
And then we jump into
Yeah.
the container.
Oh. Are you? I don't like
Okay.
that.
I hate that.
I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. Uh-huh.
Yep, it's fading behind us.
Oh, good.
3, 2, 1, jump. Three, 2, 1, jump. 3, 2, 1, jump. Nope.
Oh.
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 Perfect. 3, 2, 1, jump.
Oh, God.
Oh no.
Hold on. Let me see.
Where's the cap?
There's no...
So we just gotta run?
I think we have to run.
Okay, not
This
this
guy
one,
has
the
to
next
look that
one. 3, 2, 1, run.
Oh, just...
Absolutely not.
I think we could have made it. Okay.
3, 2, on this one we run. No! No!
Nope.
Oh
I'm
my
just gonna
God.
keep walking. I'm just gonna keep walking.
It's okay.
Yeah, that one was a very big jump. Little jump. That's my go-to move whenever I make it onto something and nobody else does. I just keep moving forward. A 1,647 meters. We've been playing for 6 hours and 33 minutes
This building's open.
and 30 seconds. Okay. Do you hear?
I don't see no wings.
Well, I was talking about looking in the building.
It's not
I
here.
just looked through the window and saw nothing.
Like, such a big space. Guess not.
There's another open building right there.
No.
Hmm.
Oh well.
Okay, so we gotta climb these trucks.
Yeah. Let's just stay on it until these ones.
Where do we need to go? Do we need to go over and then up, or up?
think there'll be one we can jump to coming up.
Hmm.
I don't think we can. We don't make that. To make that one.
I think we could make it. Well, maybe
Coming up.
nobody grab. What are your arms good for?
Nothing.
Yeah, they're gonna make us do the other one. Should there be birds up this far? Is this...
Okay, fuck me.
So... if we did it from this one, it has to be...
Not this one, coming the next one.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, jump.
Nope.
Nope. Close enough.
I think we're meant to go right.
We
first,
yeah, I
then
think they
back.
want us to go right, but I feel like we could do it.
I feel like we can cheat it.
But I'll do what they want us to do.
What the fuck am I going up here?
No!
I mean, I'm not complaining. I'm up here now, so I can just pull y'all up. Again, cheat the system. I just don't see how I'm meant to make that jump to the right. That seems
mean-
crazy.
Sorry.
Okay. Like, I guess we go all the way to the top and then jump.
To this one?
Ah! Sorry, bad.
It's okay. It's alright. We're fine.
I think once we get to the top, we jump to the right lower one.
Inside of me.
Like the square that's at the lowest point on the right side.
Yeah.
This gives me so much anxiety. Like that one down there. I did it again. Did
You're
one of
fine.
you get it?
You're fine. You're
Yes.
fine.
And then I
Okay.
guess how do we move on from here? Like the same?
I think, yeah, when we were at the top, there was one we could get on. I think,
three,
like,
two,
right
1.
there.
And then we jump on the truck.
Yes. Ah! Help!
La 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 la, sing a 3, 2, 1, jump.
There's wings. Do we want to try them?
I want to jump across to that one and then across to the wings.
Yeah.
And I want to do it diagonal.
Yeah.
3, 2. After this one, jump. Woo!
Ah! Too far! Too far!
Too much mustard. Oh god. I weirdly thought that I could collect that just myself.
Ah, I thought you guys could get on it by yourself too.
1, jump back.
It's not that far. Damn. Hmm.
3, 2, 1 after this one. No, don't jump, don't jump.
Too late.
My
I'm
screen went
running.
black. I was
I'm
so
running.
confused.
I'm running.
That's okay. My screen went black. I was so confused. What happened?
Why did it
I
go
was like,
black?
I don't know, but it's fine now.
Oh no.
Hold it.
Oh, let go.
Hold it.
I can see my house from here. What's this? As opposed to all the other saves?
There's a light.
Alright, I guess. Did we miss checkpoints? I don't understand.
No idea.
I feel like this game just adds things at random. That's... Oh. Everybody stretch! The left to the right. Forward.
6, 7.
Oh, there we go. What's this? We will be here.
Hmm?
And Thea said, be right back.
Oh.
We're raising funds for the ACLU! Exclamation point BSS will get you that link to donate. We are at $263 of our $500 goal. Already over halfway. What do you want to do? We're at 1,675 meters. We're pretty close.
Oh, it's maybe time for the slot up so we can stop and finish it the next one.
Okay.
And 1,000 meters, so why not?
What's after this, Crimson?
Jackbox.
Thank you, Wicked.
Just lots and lots of Jackbox.
Lots of Jackbox.
Is there another Jackbox I want to buy before we start? What don't I have? Could buy 10. Oh, I did get their Family Feud bundled, or one too. Let's see. I'm missing the original. 7, 9, and 10.
Okay. It's me. With English muffin on my face. Oh. Beautiful. Anyway. Hello, my friends. definitely have to find a different spot for this camera. It's really not working for this. Chrome there. Excellent. Happy face. Me. Okay. No. All right, everybody. Thank you for hanging out during my time and watching the shenanigans. Crimson will be back on here in a few. We'll be doing some Jackbox stuff. Even if you can't join the actual game, you can be part of the audience, which is always a good time. You cause some chaos for the people who are playing. Yeah. Raise some more funds. Chaos. I see it went BRB, so I think that's where they went. Even more, thank you for just hanging out. Enjoying the vibes. We appreciate that even more. And Jackbox is equally, if not more chaotic than this, so it's not fancy bingo. One day, maybe we'll do some fancy bingo. Fancy bingo. Give me a 4. Oh, we watch Slaughterhouse. Yeah. Scare. Okay. You guys really want to watch us play Overcooked? I tell you this now. You really do. It is Overcooked under the influence. So if you've seen us sober playing it, just can you imagine? I need this. Mm-hmm. Yep. Alright. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, we are raising funds for the ACLU. Our Tiltify link is !BSS. You can not only just donate, you can vote on certain hero questions and polls. Help us get to main goals that will help entertain you on this channel as well. And I think is that it? Oh, and write things on Crimson for money. I'll leave that vague for everybody. There you go. But yeah, that is what we're doing today. We appreciate everybody who's hanging out, who's retweeting, reposting, putting in your discords. Even if you can't donate, sharing the stream helps a lot. So we appreciate you and we love your faces. And Crimson will be on here in a couple minutes. I'll still be here. You just won't see my beautiful visage. Is what's about to happen. Yeah. So bye, everybody. Bye.